Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Joining me today after a brief hiatus, long hiatus, after a hiatus, Dr. Ankit Shah. Dr. Ankit Shah, Namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel. How are you?
Jai Shri Ram. Always a pleasure.
So it's not often that we meet within a month twice. I mean, you are coming on the show today, and we met in person in Bengaluru recently. And you've been really tearing the charts about de-dollarization, one of the first ones to recognize a trend. Let's say it that way. Now,
Okay.
we decided that we will do this thing where we are seeing a reset in the global order happening even as we speak. I would like you to go in first, and then maybe I may have a opinion whether it could be contrarian or it could be complementing to yours, but I would like to listen to you. In fact, the viewers are here to listen to you. Over to you.
All right. So my view has been consistent, and I don't see any change in the theme of de-dollarization. As I've been talking, even in I think 1.5, 2 years back on your channel as well. I think it was April 2023 something on P Gurus when I predicted that the Western citizens are being de-dollarized with cryptos, and BRICS Plus will be taken to gold for de-dollarization. So I don't see any major change in this, other than the fact that they've selected Pakistan for some kind of a crypto role. Well, that be. To me, it looks like that eventually they are going to give a push to the cryptos, including Bitcoin. They take the Western citizens over there, and after a point in time, there will some there will be some incidents which will happen, which will prove that cryptos cannot be kept in a decentralization format. They'll prove that these incidents happen because of the usage of cryptos. And after that, the regulations, I mean, they've already started making stablecoin regulation bills, still not approved, and things going in that direction. But the eventual outcome is going to be a CBDC, a central bank digital currency backed by gold, is what looks like as the final outcome of all of this. And it looks like a global decision because in our country as well, I expect by next year some action on 500 rupee notes, which is now very evident based on some of the recent declarations. So everybody is going towards a CBDC. And after the end of the crisis and the reset, it looks like CBDC tokens are going to be exchanged for international trade. So no other currency would be required in between. Say, for example, I am passing on, say, rupee CBDC tokens. The recipient in China gets yuan CBDC tokens. Nothing in between. Similarly is what I expect in terms of language as well. I'll be speaking in Gujarati, and somebody in Tamil Nadu will be listening in Tamil real time. So English language will also be not required in between. So in my geopolitics book, as I had explained the two buckets theory, everywhere in each country, they were told that your neighbor is a rogue country, we are going to sanction them. And the next country gets dollars and arms. This is how they created the dollar hotspots: POK, Taiwan, Ukraine, Iran, Israel, North Korea, South Korea. Um, these hotspots are now going to reverse as I've been speaking. It's the same theory which I've been speaking since 2021, because now dollar and English language won't be required in between. So this decade looks like as the last decade of America as an empire in terms of its role as a intermediary in every region in terms of English language and the US dollar. So this probably is the last president with that empire kind of a role. Um, to me, it looks like the first trim comes, as I've been saying, in 2022 itself. I said that it's going to be the last quarter of 2025. I'm still on it. It's going to be the last quarter of 2025. The first trim to the dollar is coming in last quarter of 2025. And from there, it begins sliding till 2029-30. In terms of my prediction, which everybody gets excited about that 3 rupees thing because the number looks quite odd. So we'll see after the first trim happens through this year, we'll see if any revision is required to that number for 2029 30 or not. But all the payment mechanisms are going to be linked with each other, including the SWIFT, and CBDC tokens are going to be exchanged for international trade, is what I feel like. And gold is coming back as CBDC backed by gold kind of a thing.
Thank you, Dr. Ankit Shah. And viewers, many of you have been asking, what is this fight between Orange and Elon? Well, according to indications in the last 15-20 minutes, the White House has sought out Elon Musk. I believe a rapprochement is fast happening. Many people who are friendly to both have stepped in and said, okay, fine, these are just two egos, calm down, and both are needed for the betterment of America. And I think tomorrow you'll see some reconciliatory or conciliatory words from both sides. I think that whole storm is in a storm in a teacup is over, according to me. I mean, this is what I just saw before we went online. So I think that's it for that, folks. Now, Ankit, there are a couple of things that I want to share with you and also our viewers. See, Bitcoin is one kind of a cryptocurrency. There is this new type of coins called as stable coins. The difference, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, Bitcoin does not have an asset backing it, whereas a stable coin usually has an asset backing it. That's why it's called stable. Stable meaning that there's a certain value associated. So if you take Tether is one such stable coin that is tied to one USDT. That means one Tether is equivalent to the currency is called USDT. That's a 4-digit token that is equal to $1. Now, Tether has equivalents in various countries. It has an equivalent in euro. It has an equivalent in I think gold also. But the problem is that at this point you'll start seeing the divergence happening between who's deep state, who's the old money versus America. This split is happening right in front of our eyes. Why do I say that? Great Britain turned down having an equivalent in Tether. Not only that, they also want to tax you for owning Tether. Plus, they also want to tax you for the what I call as alternate minimum tax, which is nominal or notional gains in value. So they want to treat it like an asset and they want to tax you for it. Essentially, what Great Britain is doing is to try and run down the crypto. And you saw in the Biden administration, crypto was completely looked at with derision. They had even a lawsuit going against one of the companies called Ripple. And that has now been settled. I don't remember if it was settled out of court or whether the US government ended up paying. So all these things I'm saying to say that stable coin is something that is here to stay, because it kind of gives you a currency that can be on the blockchain, gives you all the goodness of blockchain. At the same time, it has an asset backing it, which is the United States dollar, assuming you use the USDT. Now, lots of stories have been coming around as to why this is important, as to why suddenly the Trump administration is looking very kindly towards cryptocurrency. Well, the story again, nobody's going to accept this. The story is that Biden he was not the sole person signing on all the bills that President was putting out. There were many things. Basically, it looks like 5 or 6 Democrats split who signs what or who deals with which part of the economy, and then they were the ultimate authority. And there is this thing called auto pen, which is essentially a digital signature, and this is violation of the law because only president is allowed to do it. But this is like, without taking power of attorney, somebody acted like power of attorney. Let's think of it that way. Elizabeth Warren was the one who was directing all the digital currency stuff, and she is completely sold, I guess, to or completely aligned with Bank of England. Bank of England, right? No, not Bank of England. City of London. That is the deep state, old money, the Rothschilds, the Rockefeller, this, that, all those people put together. Why I'm saying all these things? So Democrats had a stake in not allowing this. You can see that UK doesn't want it because UK is the place where these people have the ultimate control. If UK goes, then this entire old money thing is going to collapse. So there are those people who are opposing it. Now, in US, how Ankit is describing it, this could play out in this way. The US dollar inside the United States might be backed by gold, but there may be an external version of US dollar that might not be backed by gold. For example, I'll tell you, USDT, I told you, right? That is Tether in US. But if you take to Euro, it is EURT. That might not be backed. So what happens is you might end up having two versions of the dollar, just like the way you have two versions of the yuan today. And this is US playing China's game. This could be also thought of as de-dollarization, because it is going off of the dollar, and ultimately something will happen, like you said, and CBDT will come. That CBDT point is dangerous because many people are pointing that the government can enforce your spending habit for you. It can say, out of the $1,000 you earn per month, you can spend $200 only towards groceries. If you have $200 only towards petrol, let's say you drive longer, you go for a vacation, I don't know what's going to happen. This is the fear of CBDT that everybody is saying. Dr. Ankit Shah, back to you. So I'm kind of agreeing with you, but I'm just saying that it's taking a different road to get to that point. What does a common person do? Like, for example, whether it is in US or in India. I know India also has digital rupee accounts in banks now. You can have a digital rupee account. That is also going towards the version of CBDT of India, which will be probably the digital rupee. What should the common person do today, Aam Aadmi?
Well, first of all, because you have your view of how it's going to happen, so I would like to explain the problem with when you say that there will be two formats of currencies, one for domestic and the other for the international usage. The problem here is when you are talking about jurisdiction. What would be the jurisdiction when you are saying that it's going to be a digital currency for international trade? Um, what do the countries or the holders go for jurisdiction in terms of investments? Second thing is, when you're talking about this kind of electronic entries, something, say for example, shows as 50,000 today on my screen. Sometimes later, if it shows 5,000, I do not know what jurisdiction should I complain the downfall for. Okay, that is one problem. Second, United States itself cannot allow multiple international players to play with its currency in that format. Say for example, you are floating a crypto backed by, say, for the government is saying, okay, we are buying, say for example, Bitcoin reserve of this much amount. Now since US government is buying it, people will see some kind of credibility in it. Now if multiple countries go for, say, the same cryptocurrency in which the US is making its reserve in, now imagine a couple of countries, as soon as United States buys, say for example, 500 million of that cryptos, imagine the next day India and its sphere of influence decides to book the profit as soon as United States buys it. Okay, so I do not think that this experiment of allowing international citizens to play with the currency of Americans or play with the retirement benefits of 401k of the Americans is going to last much longer, even if they try. Now let me bring you back to why central banks were built. Central banks were built for two reasons. One, because the politicians wanted to announce freebies for their elections. There are only two ways to sponsor the freebies. One is you collect more tax or you print more currency. So you need central banks' help to announce any kind of election campaign schemes. Okay. Second, companies want loans at cheaper rates from the central banks to run their business. Okay, so there is absolutely no way the central banks of the world are going to dilute their power of controlling or regulating the currency, and never going to give it to unknown masses of the rest of the world. Okay, that's never going to happen, because currency itself is the representation of your boundaries of a nation. So if you are, say for example, you allow Pakistanis to play with the retirement funds of Americans in Bitcoin, what do you assume will be the outcome? So, to my understanding, after all the experiments that they are going to run, ultimately it's going to be the Federal Reserve central bank digital currency backed with gold. That is what is ultimately going to happen after running all kind of experiments. Now, the problem with the US economy is when they come down to this, how they are going to cut down the demonic consumption which the Americans have been doing for the last 30-40 years. Because for being in the reserve currency status, you have to continuously run deficits, and that capacity to run the deficits is now over. At 36 trillion of debts, you might go to crypto, do some abracadabra, might wipe off some level of debt, but the
2
ultimate
trillion.
you might wipe out some portion of the debt, but ultimately, what about the spending habits of the citizens and the social benefits, the retirement benefits, the income security, the food stamps, the majority Medicaid, the majority of the US budget, which is going into maintaining all of these. So, to my understanding, the country requires massive reforms and spending cuts, and this has been the bone of contention between Elon Musk and Trump, because Elon Musk wants haphazard cutting, immediate cutting of all this expenditure,
That's not possible. Yeah.
which he
Yeah.
terms as not required, but then that has political repercussions, as we know. So, to my understanding, after playing with the cryptos, Americans will have to learn the habit of cutting down the expenditure. There are two ways to go about it. One, you have to trim the US dollar massively. I was reading yesterday's Deutsche Bank report. It says 40% cut on the US dollar can wipe out the deficit, but that will be like a short term gimmick. After that, again, the spending habits of Americans will have to be tamed for this kind of consistency of behavior. Second is gold revaluation, which certainly can be done because United States has enough quantity of gold, and I believe it has taken a lot back from UK ever since Trump has come to power. So they do have in the reserves. They can certainly do it, but again, that is a short-term solution. The long term is going to be to cut the numbers of the dollar assets across the economy, which means cutting down the salary numbers, cutting down the real estate numbers. These zeros have to go, and foreigners will have to be kicked out from the holding the dollar assets. So, because you are having this open capital account for so long, because of the reserve currency status, you cannot afford this anymore. So, you will have to kick out foreign investors, make your capital account a little tighter rather than the loose it has been because of the reserve currency status, and have to understand that we are going into a multipolar world. None of the four big countries are in a position to run a single country currency unipolar led hegemony. Okay, nobody is, none of the four. Okay, now the biggest mistake which President Trump did was announcing tariffs without any make in US product in hand. You should have actually displayed some made in US products before announcing the tariffs, because you just want to print currency and then dictate to the producers of the world. It doesn't work that way. It boomerangs, and that is exactly what happened. So use robotics, use AI, use automation, and begin making made in America products, at least something to show, so that you can launch some tariff on some countries. I mean, it's very stupid to do it before that, right? So I think they have learned it the hard way. Going forward, what it looks like is, um, as you see, Elon Musk and Trump are, whatever the truce or whatever communication that they do and settle it out for a short while. To my understanding, the crisis is coming very soon. The last quarter will be the first devaluation for the US dollar, and it is going to be big enough to be pinching to the pocket. Okay. And after that, uh, before the midterm elections next year, again, the printing machines, they are going to on the printing machine again. Okay. So if that not has to happen, then the trimming has to be done properly by the economics team.
You make a good point. I'll tell you one thing, Ankit. See, this whole thing has its origins in China.
Mhm.
China started putting indirect capital controls. And what this has meant is that foreign companies that put trillions or billions and trillions, now they can't take that money out. Alibaba, gone. And many other companies also, right? So
But Sri,
all these things,
they were exporters, right? Exporters not supposed to have freedom of capital accounts. Exporters are never going to have that benefit like
no,
US.
see, the challenge is that there are many retirement accounts money, European as well as American
Mhm.
money that has gone in by way of uh, mutual funds. It could be BlackRock, it could be Vanguard. All these guys have invested in China. Guess what? They can't take the money out right now because Chinese stocks are pretty much underwater. And even
Well,
companies like, hold
to
on,
my
let me
understanding,
finish this thing.
yeah.
Chevron can't take the profits it makes out of selling its own products in China. They've got
Mhm.
capital controls on Chevron. So Chevron is being forced to declare that as a reinvestment of its profits in China, which it doesn't want to do because China
Correct.
is, it's thirsty for dollars.
Mhm.
So China has started, skewing the game quite a bit. Now the problem is, like you said, real estate loss in US. This is going to be a huge problem because when China did the tightening, the local people didn't get hurt so much because these are all foreign companies coming and investing. Now go back to America. A lot of Chinese own a lot of land, a lot of property in the United States. If you crash the price, it's not just them, but the local people also who will stand to lose a lot. They are
Mhm.
called as upside down loans, meaning your loan amount is this and the value of the house has shrunk to this. And you still have to pay for your loan amount. That will cause a huge upheaval. So, how does one tackle that?
Well, Shri, what we have to understand what has happened since 1971, because of this reckless printing, two generations have consumed products that should be consumed by 10 generations. That is what has happened in America. And China has been leveraging that game for its own benefit, okay, being the exporter of the world. Now, the problem is, unless and until you fix your family as an institution and bring back the productivity, this very idea of just printing the currency and consuming is what is the fundamental problem. So, unless and until you bring manufacturing back and in a massive scale, you will not be able to challenge China or even think of countering any of the Chinese moves. That's just not possible because they got the real productivity. In fact, I can tell you, even our pitchkari of Holi is coming from China. So
Correct, correct.
even thinking that
Your DI
any
is
of
coming from China.
everything. I mean, the prime minister was now recently when he came to Gujarat, he was saying गणपति भी छोटी आंखें वाले हो गए इधर वो भी वहां से आ रहा है. So he was very clear about this. He gave 3 speeches in Gujarat, and he was very clear that the kind of disorder that is coming, he was insistent that buy only Indian products. He kept on hammering to the people, please buy only Indian products and Indian brands. Okay. So the kind of disorder which is coming, I think each country is going to be much of it like on their own, except for the free trade agreements which they have bilaterally. So multilateral trade pacts are over. Multilateral bodies which were dollar funded are going to get de-dollarized. The UN is going to be de-dollarized. The World Bank is going to be de-dollarized. The IMF is going to be de-dollarized. NATO is going to be de-dollarized. So to my understanding, uh, a lot of multipolarity is going to come in the international bodies, and those countries allies who are thinking that they are going to rely on Federal Reserve to give endless dollars, it's not going to happen. Okay. So the world has to prepare for a post dollar world, which means a lot of indigenization and regional integration is what is going to happen in terms of bilateral trade. So everything is now going towards a bilateral free trade agreement between two nations rather than a multilateral trade pact between 10, 15 nations. Because those bodies were designed for US hegemony. Post Second World War, all the bodies were designed for US hegemony. The IMF giving political conditions along with dollars. The World Bank giving dollars along with political conditions. Now, since they themselves are not going to get dollars anymore, you cannot give political conditions to all the regions anymore. Okay. So, to my understanding, um, it's going to be a huge crisis for Western citizens in the coming 5 years, especially the NRIs who are hearing me. I've been consistent on this. I recently got news about Ohio. They are putting a bill where, list of nations cannot buy properties in Ohio even if they hold green card. As of now, India is not on the list. Let me clarify. India is not on the list in that bill. They are saying China, Russia, Iran, because the reasoning they are giving is there are some critical infrastructure of national security importance, and these countries shouldn't be having properties in Ohio. Now, what is very interesting to see is Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be the candidate in Ohio.
Right now,
And
he's leading.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the Secretary of State is given the powers to, in this bill, to add the names of countries as he likes every 6 months. Okay. Overall, to me, it looks like it is imminent for the US economy to remove the foreign investors from the dollar assets and use those dollars to buy American goods, which is what President Trump was pressing for. So a big decoupling is going to happen with China in terms of Wall Street finance being, not given access to China. And that eventually means a lot of foreign investments within the US are going to dilute. So for NRIs, my suggestion is move out your money before January 1st remittance tax comes in, which is 3.5%. It's still pending with the Senate. It's not approved yet, but the House has passed it. 3.5% remittance tax is coming. Now, understand there will be capital, controls which will be launched from both the sides, not one side. Remember, it will be launched both the sides. Multiple countries will launch capital controls. So the best time right now to exit from the dollar assets, park in the right investments in Bharat. 28, 29, after the reset, you take back the money with the new dollar rate. Probably, to my understanding, you will be able to buy double the property. That is my understanding. Because one is the rupee appreciation you will get. Second will be the appreciation of the asset itself. Okay, because Indian tier 2 and 3 are still underpriced. So this is the best time to exit and re-enter the American market with the new rates around 29-30. This is my understanding in terms of saving the wealth that is accumulated.
But let's get back to the main problem. You answered this question in a previous podcast of ours, where you said that NRIs in US will face a lot of heat because they are good with their money, which means when the value of your home starts shrinking, but the loan is so much higher that you go upside down, chances are that NRIs might have paid down their loan so that you may have, your home may be worth less, but you will not go under, because your problem is you have to slash your salaries, but your payment doesn't change because your loan amount hasn't changed. Your value has gone down. So this makes you feel depressed. That's what China is going through right now. So this thing you answered saying that NRIs have a better shot at riding this storm out than the others, and because of that, they might draw the wrath of the remaining population. I sort of agree to what you're saying. We are more, but then so are the Jews. They are even more clear about their finances. They are much more clear. There are other communities also. Many people are doing that. I'm not sure that US will take this step, Dr. Shah, because it's too drastic a step. I'll tell you one last one. There is much of the American savings are in their houses. Many, 80 to 90%. That is their wealth. That is their retirement money.
Correct.
If you take that away, they don't know what to do. Over to you.
Well, Shri, you have to understand that a big chunk of the voters in this election were people who were not able to buy their homes. You have to understand what has happened with the American real estate. Since you were holding the reserve currency status, a lot of foreign investors have started pouring in their money in the parking in the dollar assets. This is why
Yeah.
the numbers have gone up. Plus, the printing machine allowed you to have 0 to 3% interest rates for a considerable period of years, because of which the real estate numbers have gone up. Now, what happens with that generation who are not able to afford these houses? They don't have their families intact to lean back to. Okay, they have their parents multiple divorces and changed and things like that. Now, these has been considerable MAGA support in the recent election. So, a housing crash is in the interest of political entities. While I can understand that a majority of the aged ones have saved or parked their savings in real estate, but the majority of the voters are on the other side, who are not able to afford their daily living because of the inflation, plus not able to afford a simple home for themselves. So housing crash is imminent, because without doing that, understand, real estate has become a big component of the inflation portion for, especially in the tier 1 cities and the urban areas. Now, when you don't get jobs, you get laid off. On the other sides, the prices of goods are increasing, and then you are not able to buy even your house. This has more political repercussion than wiping off some numbers from the real estate numbers. So
Thank you so much.
yeah.
Thank you so much. I think it's going to be an interesting one. I would request you to come back in a couple of weeks' time. Let us revisit this, because this is going to start picking up momentum. We have a few questions for you, Dr. Shah.
Sure.
Karthik wants to know why we Indians are terrible at US lobbying while Pakistan plays the game smart. Trump's U-turn on them is his second term says it all.
Well, Karthik ji, you have to understand that Pakistan Army and the Chinese Communist Party are extensions of the US deep state. They were created for this two bucket theory to keep on needling India and India's growth. So it's a very natural game, irrespective of who comes as a president. It is very natural for them to stand in support of the Pakistan Army, and also stand in support of export revenue of the CCP. Okay, this is now going to reverse, and for that reversal, India will have to showcase a massive amount of military strength and show and do it. Then and then only this can reverse as well. Okay, second thing, Pakistan has been if you hear their defense minister, they have taken India's line of thought and clearly saying that it is the US which is causing the wars and money laundering by dollar printing to the defense companies. The Pakistani defense minister has given these statements officially. Okay, he's clearly talking about the two bucket theory. In fact, sometime back when I was in Israel, even the Israelis said the same thing. They said, we get the arms supply only after Palestine gets dollars. This is what Israelis also said. So it is very clear that in one building, dollars are printed. In the second building, the defense contractors are sitting, the dollars are transferred to them, and a third country is being destroyed. This is very clear now, everybody knows it. Trump was trying to stop it with what we call as negotiation, ceasefire, whatever that is. Okay, so it's going to take time. Indians have never been politically active, NRIs, so to speak. They mostly are the financiers. People come, Republicans come, take money. Democrats come, they take money. Largely, NRIs do not get much of a political say in terms of getting any strong action done, which is why I keep on saying NRIs are very vulnerable to attacks when crisis comes.
Thank you so much. The other side, Ankit sir, JSR is lack of what, I don't know what JSR is.
Jai
Is
Shri
lack
Ram,
of Modi. Jai Shri Ram. Acha. Lack of Modi in G7, the start of superpower status. Is Elon Trump a deep state triggered drama to fool citizens? एक एक करते हैं. पहले lack of Modi in G7. This is
ठीक है.
my understanding, Ankit, and you can explain to me or you can contradict me. Look, India is not a part of G7. If Modi goes, he will not be in the main table. There's a side table where outside room where they are sitting there. Once in a while, they'll be brought in for general, updates and things like that. So going or not going, to me, it is meaningless unless you are a full member. You are not. So you're better off not going. But you tell me, what do you think?
Well, what is happening over here is, first of all, it's hosted in Canada, right? Is that correct?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we have had a massive downgrade of relations with Canada. So, anyways, even if invited, Prime Minister Modi was not going to go. Okay, first thing. Second thing, G7 is much of what we believe as a US dollar sponsored group. Okay, so whenever these G7 allies go into crisis, it is the Federal Reserve giving them secret swaps of the dollars to maintain their numbers. So we do not fall in ally category anyways of the United States. We've been very clear about this, that we are a separate pole with a strategic autonomy. Third thing, whenever we are invited to G7, as Shri said, we are not the main member. We are just as a guest member kind of a thing. Okay. Now, looking at the economic strength which India has, and the way we are growing, I think it doesn't matter who meets where. If they are not meeting in Delhi or meeting with Delhi, whatever they decide is actually nothing going to come on ground. So it doesn't matter who meets where. Second thing, is Elon
Elon
Trump
Trump at DS triggered
DS?
drama.
No. So what has happened with Elon and Trump is, I think when the election results came, I was very clear on that very day that deep state appointments are going to happen. Deep state members are going to be in the team. So Scott Bessent, JD Vance, and Little Marco, all three are toolkits for the DS. First, they kicked out Vivek. Next, they kicked out Elon. Now Trump is alone. That is exactly what they wanted. Okay. Next.
Next one. Thank you, Keshav Lakshman. Stablecoin is US weapon to dollarize the world, starting with small countries with volatile currencies like Pakistan. A stablecoin is backed by US Treasury. As Japan dumps US Treasury, people in Pakistan are supporting US. Argentina are supporting US Treasury.
Okay. So Keshavji, what they are trying to do, what I've seen, they are shifting the US Treasury from China to UK, because UK being their allies. And they have announced some time back that whoever will default in the UK, they are not going to put out their names. They will get the federal dollar supplies. This is the understanding they have with the UK. Argentina certainly will go that path in supporting during the crisis. Pakistan might as well in doing this abracadabra. But as long as I can understand cash flows, I can tell you one thing. If Pakistan is going to play this crypto thing with the US and with Trump as the president, mark my words, Pakistan will be on resale. I'm not saying sale, I'm saying resale.
Narendra wants, thank you, Narendra. IT job, US bank client, pressure to deliver more, increasing environment is painful, ridiculous rules come up at client and my company side. When will the dip come?
Narendra ji, prepare for all the Western banks collapsing. I am very blunt on record online right now. The Western banking system is going to collapse. And if you think that you are going to be their client or an employee of any of this outsourced work, you are going to be in serious trouble in some months from now. Start searching for some job.
Next one, please. Thank you, Bhagirathi Solanki. Kinda miss Satvik Bhai. Manov-san, hi to both of you, and Slava Ukretion. Japan is USA's largest creditor and appears to be pulling back capital from US as bond market collapses from inflation and tariffs. How do we get that money?
Well, you have to understand that as soon as Japan gets signal from the US deep state, it is going to pull out. It's going to sell all the US Treasury, a big bunch of US Treasury, and that will trigger the banking crisis across the Western citizens. So, to my understanding, if you are a Western citizen, um, the banks are not safe. You have to arrange whatever that you have to arrange. The safest would be, if you don't want to park in India, the safest would be physical gold and silver.
Next one, please. Nitin Jain wants to know, sir, if CBDC is future, that means the concept of interest on bank deposit will no longer be available. So are we looking at no banking system?
Nitinji, banking will be there, banks will not be there. Education will be there, education institutions won't be there. This is where we are heading in the next decade. So understand what is going to happen is CBDC as digital currencies. As of now, they have made it clear that they are not going to give interest on this. But once the physical notes are demonetized, they will have to give interest on this e-tokens as well. This is my understanding. And once de-dollarization happens, since you are from India, I can tell you this. What's going to happen is the students are going to get interest rate low so that they can begin some kind of enterprising. Okay. And the aged ones are going to get a higher interest rate so that they can survive on the, because they were surviving on fixed deposit interest rates. Okay. So they might get a higher rate of interest. That's the things you can do with a CBDC because of the digital framework.
Keshav Lakshman wants to know, Ankit ji, everything points to hyperinflation globally in the next decade
everything
or so.
points to hyperinflation globally in next decade or so, which will drive super cycle in commodities.
Yeah, think gold, silver, digital
Your
assets.
internet is, I think, some problem.
Yeah. Okay. I'm able to hear you. Go
So,
ahead. Yeah.
yes, Keshavji. Okay, Keshavji, that's correct. After the reset, the commodities will be traded in a very different way. You will see the collapse or dilution of the New York Stock Exchange. Then only Texas Stock Exchange can become strong. Similarly, you will have Gift City, Dubai, Shanghai Stock Exchange, and Moscow. These will be the ones who will be doing the price resetting of gold and silver in the new world order. Dubai, Gift City, Shanghai, Moscow, and Texas Stock Exchange. New York Stock Exchange will be diluted. You are correct that hyperinflation for the Western citizens, minor inflation for the rest of Asia as well. Next 2 decades, agriculture and farming is going to be booming in terms of returns.
Next one, please. Thank you, Prakash Patil. Where to learn cash flow? Are there any books?
Prakashi, this is something clearly based on observations. So this is not
Talk to
something
your
like a
grandma.
book based or a, there's a
Apurva Sharma, thank you so much. India has knowingly hit US bases in Pakistan. After Pearl Harbor, it's only second time in history someone has hit US bases. That's why US fadfada raha hai.
Apurvaji, you are correct to an extent, especially the Noor Khan Air Base, and the second one was this Kirana Hills. Both were having some or the other kind of American material, and the message was actually to America more than it was to Pakistan, which is why Prime Minister in Bihar rally actually spoke in English, not for the audience but for the Western world to hear. So yes, the messaging is very clear that we have no first use policy, but we don't have no first use policy for Pakistani weapons. So if Pakistan is thinking that they are going to even think of any move regarding atom bomb, our DRDO and ISRO and the Prime Minister will press the switch here itself of your bombs. This is what the messaging was given.
Next question, Ankit Tiwari, thank you so much. Will Elon now shift from Texas to India?
Well, Ankit ji, understand we have our own set of businessmen. If somebody wants to come, they will have to partner with them, and then only they will get access on our conditions.
Thank you so much, Ankit ji. And that was a wonderful session after a long time. And I'm hoping that we'll be back again very shortly to talk about this. Lots of twists and turns are going to take place, viewers. You can be sure of that. Thank you once again, Ankit ji. Namaskar.
Sure. Dhanyawad.